Gravitar Recharged is an arcade action multi-directional shooter or shoot 'em up where you navigate a variety of challenging planets, each with their own gravitational pull that tests not only your piloting skills but also your killer instinct. Yeah, I don't have any nostalgia for this, but it's part of the Atari Recharged series. They've already recharged or remade Centipede, Asteroids, Black Widow, and Breakout. There's always a risk involved of alienating the previous player base with remaking a game, and they definitely did take some opportunity to freshen up this game, and some of it works, and some of it may be too far from what you're looking for. I don't know, I think it depends on which part of Gravitar you liked or hated, because it was an incredibly difficult game that I'm not really sure many people did play. So it seems like this game is going to be pretty niche. But let's get into what exactly is going on in this game. Well, as I said in the intro, you play through various missions on these planets to complete an objective and move on to the next planet. For this one, you have to destroy all the enemies. Sometimes you have to collect some secret intelligence or activate multiple beacons in the level, which just has you positioned in one place for a little bit and then it activates. Note that the flying is pretty slow, and I think that's a departure from the original games. You must be precise in all of your movements to carefully navigate the gravity as I explode, since the gravity sucked me into that asteroid. As I was saying, the gravity is a big deal. It definitely affects how you fly, and so flying very carefully, not wasting your fuel, because fuel is a huge part of this game. You must conserve as much fuel as you possibly can, because you can only pick it up in that bucket of droplets right on the screen, right at the bottom. And of course, once you run out of fuel, you're dead. So I think the flying is a departure from the original game, where it was incredibly fast and you had to be insanely precise or else the game punished you. It's also very difficult to correctly aim. There's no aiming feature, and I can never quite line up the shots unless I'm moving a little bit slower. And I think that is very reminiscent of the original game, because it was also very imprecise to shoot. You were really focused on flying, and hopefully some of your bullets would hit something. What I will say is that the game retains some of its difficulty. So the game is still fairly difficult. I've been playing some of these missions over and over, trying to get them right. A few mistakes will lead to your death. They gave you a shield though, so that helps a little. You can take one hit and then the shield replenishes. So you have some opportunity, but you still have to focus on flying correctly, and it still ends up being quite a challenge. Moving on to arcade mode, and here is a few choices you have to gain a bonus to your score if you want to select them before starting out into the run, which starts the same way every time. You're dropped into a solar system, much like this one, as a matter of fact, and you must land on a planet, which just means you have to go near it and it'll suck you in, complete the mission, and then you're allowed to leave the planet. You do this for every planet in the solar system, and then you can move on to the next system, which has very similar missions to these ones. In fact, there are only 6 different planets to go to, which I understand is similar to the original game, but does seem to be lacking in some excitement. Trying to activate beacons in every level over and over again ends up becoming tiresome quickly. So you go to the next solar system and you're so excited to be there, and then it ends up being the same missions again. They are more difficult, don't get me wrong. The difficulty level definitely ramps up. So it is more of a challenge, and completing arcade mode would be quite an achievement, but having some variety would have been nice. What you will have also seen me doing, besides activating the beacons in this level, is picking up fuel, as we discussed before, picking up point barrels, I don't actually know what they are, and also picking up power-ups. These will change my shot to a scatter shot, or give me an EMP field so I can deactivate the enemies, or there's a railgun, which is what I was using in the level to shoot everywhere, all around, spinning around. It's actually kind of fun. That's my favorite one, although it's not super useful because if you shoot a fuel barrel, it will explode and then you won't be able to pick up that fuel, which you will find out is incredibly important to being able to finish arcade mode or really get anywhere. The fuel is so scarce in this game, I'm afraid to use the engines too much. It even takes away some of your fuel when you're flying around on the planet Select inside the solar system. I think that's really weird because you're technically picking a level you want to play and that's affecting your fuel, but it does track with the original game, so I'm going to allow it, but wow, it is the most difficult part of the game, and if I could do anything to be more efficient with my ship movements, then I would be very good at this game. Anyway, real quick, I just wanted to show off what happens when you finish all the planets in an area. You get sucked into a black hole. It's kind of spoilery, but not really. I just think visually it might be a spoiler. Sorry about that. But you get sucked into that black hole and you move to a yellow solar system to do similar levels. Moving on to the missions game mode, and you can pick from any of the missions that are in the arcade mode. Here is the list, and you're placed on a global leaderboard with your total score for all the missions. Now, I didn't finish or play through all the missions, so that's why I'm so low, but you can see that there are some players here, and so you could compete against them if you wanted to. There's really not much to say about the mission mode. It's just the individual levels again, like I said, and here I am playing it. It looks exactly the same as arcade mode. You can't really tell, except you do only have one life to complete the whole thing, whereas in arcade mode you had 3 lives. So there's some difference, but it's just the exact same game. It kind of seems like you could use this to practice the levels so you can be good enough at them to complete them in arcade mode, but since it has that leaderboard, it's a little bit more than that. Now, what I will say is this is probably my favorite mode. Arcade mode feels impossible when you start, and you're not going to get any better at it really because you're not going to have enough opportunity to try, whereas this one I can keep trying on the same level until I nail it, and then you get a good score at the end, and then if you want, you can replay the level knowing all the things you know, you're going to get better at it, you're going to get all the score items, and so there's an opportunity there to challenge yourself, where it feels like with arcade mode, it's really a one and done situation to say that you finished it. Overall, Gravitar Recharged is a well-made game that didn't grab my attention. I respect it though for trying to remake an older game in a more modern style. But it didn't really grab me in the way I wanted it to, and that probably comes down to the fuel mechanics. They're just not for me. Should you consider this game? Maybe. If you're a fan of the original Gravitar, then let's face it, this is probably the closest thing you're ever going to get to an official remake, and it definitely captures some of that original style. For everyone else, it's a bit of a hard sell. Are you looking for something that has some nostalgia or old school mechanics? Then yeah, if you are into playing super arcade games, I could see that being something you're into. I don't think the leaderboards are going to bring too much fun because the game is so niche, there's not going to be a lot of competition there. I also wish there was a little more variety in this game so new players could feel like they're playing something new, but I understand that would have alienated the original player base, and that's something they were really trying to capture in this Recharged. It's a tough sell. If you picked this game up and you've watched this far, then you should tell me what drew you to the game, and maybe I'll understand a little bit more. But now, we've reached the end of the video, and you will subscribe for more indie game content. That way we can talk soon. So, I'll talk to you later.